Alrighty, people, what's up? Today's video is about the new Kemper liquid profiling thing, which isn't even out yet. I was just watching the most recent video from HW Tone Junkie TV of Death, who is one of the chosen ones who already have this new, what is it called, the operating system? The newest, the latest operating system, which includes the liquid profiling thing. This is not a reaction video, and no disrespect to HW, I love you, man. So what's the new Kemper liquid profiling thing? It makes the gain control and all the EQ controls act like the real deal, like the real amplifier. We already know that the Kemper EQ does not behave like the real amp because it simply just can't, right? The EQ cannot know how all the amps in the world kind of work. My question is this necessary that the Kemper needs to know every amp and how the EQ and gain control behaves? Don't get me wrong, and don't take this badly or so, but my impression is that the Kemper company was like, "Hi guys, we just need to come up with something groundbreaking new to keep the Kemper community interested, so let's call this baby liquid profiling and make it a thing." And now everybody's going crazy. When will it be released? By the way, it's not out yet, okay? Please don't ask when it will be out. I don't know. And here's just my 2 cents. It's just my opinion. I mean, there are 2 amplifiers behind me. There's a towel over it right now because I don't like it when my amps collect dust. And there's a PRS MT15 and a Marshall DSL20. If you ask me, like, hey man, what's your setting? Or what are your settings? I would say, I don't know. I set and forget. And I don't care. I don't care if the gain is 7.0 on the Kemper when the real amp would be like 4.0 or something. Does that make sense to you? Let me give you an example. Here we have my PRS profile. You can get it for free via the link in the description. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel anyway. Leave a comment, ring the bell, you know, all this stuff. And this is how it sounds. And as you can see, I do not use this equalizer portion at all. I don't care if this section acts like the real amp or not. I see a profile as a recorded amplifier. So I have a combo, a head plus cap, microphones, and what do you do in post-production with a recorded analog amplifier? You'll go to Cubase, Pro Tools, whatever you have, and you will open up an equalizer and you will do the post-processing there. And this is what I do with all my profiles. I use a little bit of studio equalizer. It's not much going on. We can just, let's make an AB. This is with the studio equalizer. And let's turn it off. I dialed back a little bit of the lower mids, 328. Just to make it sit a little bit better in the mix. This is how I would tweak a profile. If it needs anything more or less, go to the next profile. It's not worth it. Don't waste your time. And this is the biggest concern I have, that we got distracted all the time from playing guitar by tweaking. And if we got liquid profiling, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm stoked about it. And let's see what HW has to say here. Again, no disrespect. I will link his video down there, okay?
Has added something called liquid profiling, where it now models accurately the tone stack of all of these different amplifiers. And so let me show you how you do that. This is a Marshall.
Pretty interesting to see how it will look, right? Yay!
73 Super Bass liquid. I call it liquid, but it's a liquid profile. And this is actually a profile that was not created as a liquid profile. This is a profile that I created with.
So you can use old profiles and then you just use this liquid, how do you call it? Preset? Let's see.
An older firmware, took notes of the settings, and then came over to.
So you have to know your old settings. So let's say you made a profile of whatever, a Marshall JCM 800 1 year ago. You need to know how the settings were, okay? That sounds logical to me.
to the Kemper here, my Kemper with the liquid profile update, and I burned in, I elevated it
You burn!
to a different profile, to a liquid profile. Let me show you how I would do that, and let me show you some of these controls. If I don't have a liquid profile, I can come in here and boom, whoa, what are all these new controls in the amp section? Well, check this out. I have all my old controls. I have amp compressor, definition, power.
We're familiar with that, definitely.
Power sagging, direct mix. I have all that stuff. But now, and I also have my EQ. And but now I've got generic gain. I've got amp model, Kemper generic, and this amp model is really modeling not the sound, but how the bass, middle, treble, and how the gain knob.
And there you go. Like, I don't know. It's no disrespect, really, but do you need this? I don't care.
You can create liquid profiles during the profiling process, or you can also elevate profiles up to a liquid profile.
That's very good to know that you can do it with the older profiles when you know the settings from the profiling session, or for the future profiling processes, you can do it right in the moment.
So let's check this out. My generic gain and my gain are currently the same, because when you create a profile, the Kemper guesses an amount of gain. And when I say guess,
that's what I said, right? When the Kemper shows you like 7.0, this is not 7.0 on the actual amp. It's just a guess. And it doesn't matter. You can still dial it back and, you know, give it a bit more gain. Just don't overdo it.
What I mean is the Kemper measures an amount of gain. It says, oh, this deluxe sound right here that's a 3 on the gain. This Soldano, that's an 8 on the gain. It listens to the amount of gain. But what you and I both probably know is that what the Kemper calls a 3 in gain, well, some amps call a 5, some amps call a 2, some amps.
Okay, I think we got it. Let's scroll a little bit.
Let's say that for this 4 profile, I know that I made it a 6, gain pot reference a 6, and I'm going to burn. I'm going to burn it in. Now, look what I've got here, bass, treble, cut. What you'll notice too is when I come back here, I can use my cut knob. I can cut my, I can bring down my cut.
Is there a difference in tone? Because I cannot hear a difference.
I can cut my, I can bring down my cut.
Well, is it like a high cut or what? What do you cut with the cut knob?
Now, what's really cool about that is...
Okay, now it sounded a bit thicker, but maybe that's because he was like playing a bit punchier. He has a really dynamic profile, so maybe he was just a bit more punchy with his right hand.
Obviously, you look here and you see so much gain, but on an AC30, I'm able to still keep this thing pretty clean.
So normally on old profiles, without the liquid profiling, it would be like around 3 or 4 maybe, right? Okay.
But that on an AC30 is some breakup, some real breakup character. And I've also got my cut knob here, and I can roll that bass back. And...
Ah, okay. So it got thicker, like 30 seconds before, so you can cut down the bass or the general fatness of the profile. I don't know. We will see what the future holds.
So I've made some adjustments, and I'll tell you, this thing really does respond like a Marshall EQ in that it's not that impressive.
Oh, I'm not going to bore you with the whole video. HW will tell you that a Marshall EQ doesn't do much. So that's another reason why I don't understand why it's so important to have, you know, the equalizer section of the profiler needs to be like the real amp. A Marshall EQ doesn't do much. Don't care too much about it. You will get distracted from playing or practicing your instrument. I will show you another part of the video where he's talking about old Marshalls, how you do this when you jump channels and shit. You can go crazy with it.
Really cool parameter is the bright cap intensity. And,
there you go.
This is actually the ability now to change the value of the bright cap that's present in the amp. Now, different amps have, and different amp channels have different bright cap values. A lot of times...
I don't even know what a bright cap is. Capacitor or something? So it influences the sound? Is this something you adjust on a regular basis on your real amp? I don't. Maybe I'm missing out. Tell me.
Normal channels in an amp have no bright cap, and then the bright has the bright cap. That's what kind of makes it a bright channel in an amplifier. And now we have kind of control over what our sound is with that bright cap. But let's come in here and let's edit this bright cap. What if we had modded our Marshall and taken our bright cap down to 0?
What you will do, like every other day.
No.
Okay, I can hear a subtle difference, especially with my new speakers, the Atom Audios. They're great, by the way. This is something you could do with EQ as well. It's a little cut at, I don't know, like 3K or so.
That's like we just digitally clipped the bright cap on the amplifier.
Okay, we could call it like this. Sounds way better than I would explain it.
I asked Christoph, I said, what if I have a jumper channel on a...
Like daily questions for Christoph.
Commercial. Which tone stack is using? And he said, well, just lower the bright cap. Basically use the bright model, and then just lower the bright cap down, because you're using one input with the bright cap and one without it. So it's going to be less intense. So I don't know, 5, but that's only if you have the levels even on the amp.
Sure. I mean, piece of cake. Everybody knows that.
What this adds is, if you're really familiar with the amplifier, and you know how you set up a Vox, and you like the way that cut control works, and you know what you like to do on a Marshall.
That's a good point. So maybe for new Kemper users who are not familiar with the device itself, I mean, that's always the thing, I've been using this Kemper for years now, and I know how the unit kind of reacts to some changes, right? If I, tweak something, I know in which direction I want to go with this thing. And for new Kemper users, maybe this will be a really cool revelation, that they know how their real amp works, and then they can just transfer their knowledge from the analog world to the digital world, because they can tweak the knobs and it will sound like it sounds on the real amp. Does that make sense? Really complicated. So that's it for today's video. I do not want to bore you any further. It's just, my 2 cents. Like, my fear is that we will get distracted even more. I'm really looking forward to this liquid profiling thing. I'm really stoked about it. I will tweak for days, probably. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, leave a comment, ring the bell. We see us in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah!